Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Kini News. The Sabah state election, which kicked off today with the nomination of candidates, is set to see several multi-cornered fights. The Sabah state election kicked off today with the nomination of candidates. Although the Election Commission has released new guidelines as precautionary measures against COVID-19, which included prohibiting supporters from gathering and marching with the candidates to the nomination centres, several supporters from the different parties were present in the vicinity of the nomination centres. Across the state, there were multi-cornered fights in most of its 73 state seats which are up for grabs. Incumbent Sabah Chief Minister Shafie Apdal is defending the Senalang state seat in the Sabah elections in a five-cornered contest which also involves his nephew. In the Api-Api state seat, incumbent Deputy Chief Minister Christina Liu will also see a multi-cornered fight against 8 other candidates. Meanwhile, Sabah Bersatu Chief Haji Muhammad Noor will face 2 of his relatives in his bid to retain the Sulaman state seat. His opponents are Rekan Hussein of PCS and Ali Asgar Basir from Warisan. Ali Asgar said Hajiji is his uncle from his mother's side, while Rekan is also a distant relative. Apart from these, Tanjung Aru will witness an 8-cornered fight and Sungai Manila will see a 6-way tussle. Warisan, led by its president and incumbent Chief Minister Shafie Apdal, is seeking to defend its hold on the state government, along with allies UPCO, DAP, PKR and Amanah, who are collectively known as Warisan Plus. They are up against the coalitions of Barisan Nasional and Perikatan Nasional, as well as Parti Bersatu Sabah. There will also be other local parties who will contest various seats, including Parti Cinta Sabah, which is led by former Foreign Minister Musa Aman. There are 73 seats up for contest, which is an increase from the previous 60 seats due to the redelineation of electoral boundaries. The Election Commission has fixed the polling day on the 26th of September and early voting will take place on the 22nd of September. Former Sabah Chief Minister Musa Aman, whose attempt at a coup sparked the chain of events that led to this election, was surprisingly absent during the nomination process this morning. He has instead made himself heard on social media. Musa Aman, who had triggered the Sabah Snap polls after initiating a failed political coup, will be sitting out of the electoral contest. There was no sign of the former Sabah Chief Minister at the Dewan Serbaguna Libaran, where the nomination process was held for the state seats of Gumgum, Sungai Manila and Sungai Sibuga. Musa was the incumbent assembly person for Sungai Sibuga and had expressed interest in Sungai Manila. His absence in Libaran had raised questions on whether he might contest other state seats, but he did not turn up at other nomination centres either. When the nomination process closed statewide at 10 a.m., it became apparent that Musa was sitting out of the state election. Instead of turning up for nomination today, Musa took to social media to air grievances about his absence from the candidates list. He shared a Malaysia Kini article on Instagram about a group of UMNO branch leaders within the Libaran UMNO division criticizing the party's decision not to field Musa. The posting took place just as the nomination process was underway. We have a new coalition in our political arena as Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin has announced that the coalition of Perikatan Nasional, Barisan Nasional and PBS in Sabah are now known as Gabungan Rakyat Sabah. Perikatan Nasional, Barisan Nasional and Parti Bersatu Sabah will be known as Gabungan Rakyat Sabah. This is according to Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin.
Dalam mesyuarat penting semalam, saya ingin nak mengumumkan bahawa keputusan yang telah dicapai ialah untuk menamakan gabungan parti-parti yang ada bersama-sama dalam perjuangan kita ini ialah sebagai Gabungan Rakyat Sabah. Gabungan Rakyat Sabah. Gabungan Rakyat Sabah.
He said this after arriving to show his support for Bersatu Sabah Chief Haji Muhammad Noor, who is contesting the Sulaman state seat in Tuaran today. Muhyiddin also reminded all parties to set aside their differences and focus on winning the state polls to bring development to the state. He also urged Bersatu and PN to work with its partners in BN. Muhyiddin also suggested that Sabah Bersatu Chief Haji Muhammad Noor could be a possible candidate for the Sabah Chief Minister post if the state opposition coalition wins. Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin said that Sabah Bersatu Chief Haji Muhammad Noor could be a possible Sabah Chief Ministerial candidate if the state opposition coalition wins. However, he added that this would also require agreement from Bersatu's allies.
Manalah tahu kalau rakan-rakan kita dalam Perikatan Nasional, Barisan Nasional lain pun bersetuju yang terbaik yang kita nak tawarkan sebagai calon untuk memimpin negeri Sabah. Tidak lain adalah
When quizzed on the matter, this is what Hajiji had to say.
Muhyiddin himself has endorsed you as a potential seat and should the state government.
Saya tidak dimaklumkan secara khusus dan rasmi, tetapi apapun kita dengan parti-parti rakan-rakan UMNO Barisan Nasional dan juga PBS serta Perikatan Nasional akan menyelesaikan isu ini apabila tiba masanya.
Apart from Bersatu, STAR and SAPP are also contesting under the PN logo, while PN and BN are allied with PBS, which is contesting under its own logo. On BN's side, their potential chief ministerial candidate is Sabah UMNO Chief Bung Mokhtar Radin, who is contesting the newly created Lamang State seat. Bung and Hajiji's chances to become chief minister will depend on who can win more seats in the Sabah state election. Meanwhile, Warisan President Shafi Abdal said Warisan Plus has agreed on one Sabah chief ministerial candidate, unlike their rivals who are still divided on the state's top post. Warisan President Shafi Abdal said Warisan Plus has no problems with regards to their chief ministerial candidate. He said parties had agreed on one Sabah chief ministerial candidate, unlike their rivals who are still divided on the state's top post. He told the media after the nomination process today that whether it is DAP, PKR or Amanah who contest in the election, there is only one candidate for the chief minister's post, and that is the Warisan president. Shafi said this when asked to comment on the situation concerning the state opposition coalition comprising of PN, BN and PBS, which have yet to finalize their candidates for the post. Earlier, Bersatu President Muhyiddin Yassin had mooted Sabah Bersatu Chief Hajiji Muhammad Noor as a possible chief ministerial candidate if the state opposition coalition wins. The Prime Minister, however, said this would require agreement from Bersatu's allies. On Barisan National's side, Sabah UMNO Chief Bung Mokhtar Radin is the potential chief ministerial candidate. That's all from me for this weekend episode of Kini News. For more, you can go to KiniTV.com. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube, Facebook and Instagram for the latest news updates. Have a pleasant weekend, ladies and gentlemen, and as always, stay safe, Malaysia.